Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Before the Storm, our match preview for Madrid Betar. And that's if you're watching this. If you're listening to this, we are recording this at the Es Una Final podcast, our preview for the Manchester City versus Real Madrid game. Huge game. And I have the pleasure of having Charlie and Eric with me here today to preview this game. Welcome to the show, boys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. So, before we get into the more serious stuff, we must address the fact that we are 1 point away from winning La Liga, and I don't know. It's probably because we win league titles, few and far between. We don't dominate the league as probably Juventus or Bayern Munich does in their respective leagues. It always feels so much extra special to me whenever we win the league title. I know we almost made the Champions League Sunday league football in between 2016 and 18. It was almost a given that we will win this thing, but Champions League is the Champions League, but it almost feels surreally good whenever you win the league title. And I think this year it's even more special because I honestly don't remember. I think it was 2012 was the last time when we were winning the league so far before the campaign actually ended. I think by the 34th or 35th match day, or probably it was even later in 2012. But again, in 17 we had to win it in the last match day, and 2019 we had to win it the match day before the last match day. So it was interesting in that regard. I'll start with you, Eric. We're 1 point away from winning the league title. I tweeted something today what kind of 11 we should play after we win the league title. We'll discuss about that. But what are your thoughts on that, Eric? Right now, I think everything is becoming very much calm at Real Madrid. We're almost at the end of the tunnel. We see light, and we see 35 written in glaring letters in that light. So what do you think about that?
It's actually quite interesting. Being the optimistic person that I am, essentially the positive charge towards Mehdi's usual negative energy that he brings to the table. I did not expect a league race to go down in the wire like this. All throughout the season, we were at many points were disappointed, unhappy, and thinking that we have missed out on very good opportunities on sealing the deal early. But needless to say that there were other teams that performed worse off than essentially what we performed. And while this is a matter of essentially a very joyous occasion, so to speak. I don't know why I'm using a formal term of it, because I don't know, 10 years down the line, no one's gonna remember if Unai Emery defeated tactically outclassed Real Madrid in a one-off league game, because people will remember who won and who lost, and that's it. But for the short-term period of it, this was a very interesting league. We played bad, but other teams played worse. And in some cases, this kind of works out to our advantage. And we have had some miracles of many different, essentially, not some, I wouldn't say some, some very, very interesting miracles, to say the least. And these miracles were actually gonna be the things that will make this season very memorable for me. This rejuvenated the rise and fall and the rise of Karim Benzema, and very unexpected rise of, not a rise I would say, but very unexpected way, Vinicius Junior came into form,
Mm, mm,
went out of form, and came into form again. And the entirety of this team, it's essentially, this is not what you would say a team that had the, at the beginning of the season, you would say that it had actually that much ground or that much core power on its own to fuel for a 35-38 league game, but we had some good muscle memory, although those muscle memory comes out for European games, but still we made the impossible possible and we won. So yeah, it's a mixed emotion, so to say, for me in every way.
yep. Thanks, Eric. So, Charlie, coming to you regarding this, had I known like at the start of the season that rather than winning the league by the 31st or 32nd match day, we will get the chance to get a guard of honor from the champions Atletico Madrid in their home, I would have taken that deal like eyes closed had I known that before. So I'm actually happy how things have transpired. We still have to get that point versus Espanyol, which I like. If we don't get, I will be extremely shocked. Even the most pessimistic person as I am, even I'm saying that if we don't, I'll be shocked. So, what about you, Charlie? Like the prospect of getting the Guard of Honor in Atletico Stadium and basically, like, literally taking the title from them, that in itself is a huge. It's a different kind of feeling. How do you feel it?
Yeah, I mean that in itself would be incredible. The guard of honor at Atleti would be so amazing. Overall, I just feel this immense sense of relief. I mean, coming into the season, I believe on our prediction, the season prediction with the Estornio Final pod, I said we would finish, I think, third this year
Yeah,
behind both
I
Atleti
said third too.
and Barcelona. And I mean, I never expected this team to perform like they did, which obviously it wasn't great. Like Eric said, it was on account of a lot of other teams in the league performing very poorly. So, I mean, I am so happy that first, Madrid are going to win this league. Second, it's going to happen this early. I mean, it's not coming down to the wire.
Mhm.
And even I would never have expected us to go this far in the Champions League either. So, I mean, I like, of course, want Real Madrid to win and beat City and just crush them, and then crush Liverpool in the final. But they've already so far exceeded my expectations this season that I will just take absolutely anything. I just hope for a great game of football tomorrow, and I just want to see the best display possible. I won't be disappointed unless it's just an awful performance. If the guys go out there and fight and lose, I'll say Pep's a great manager. He's got an awesome team. This season, we're already getting much more out of it than I thought we would. So I'm just relieved. I'm just happy that we made it this far. We're gonna win number 35. We're at a point where we can say that now because it's 1 point.
Yeah.
So, I'm just so happy and so satisfied with what this season has come to, given what it looked like at the start.
Yes, and there were like so many moments in the season, like where we had like played more games than the title rivals. We had a false lead over them, and there was this one point like the rivals have played less games. Like Barcelona only like got like for the first time in all of these games, I think Barcelona have played equal number of games with us. That's after the 33rd match week, I think, something like that. So all in all, I'm satisfied. I'm also extremely relieved because after the Clasico, even the first couple of games after the Clasico, how Real Madrid performed, it wasn't really inspiring, and how Barcelona were winning left and right. Like you never know that fear creeping in that what if like this lead just goes vanishes away, and we had difficult games coming in at that time as well. But I think since that point on. As much as that was a terrible defeat, I think the players picked themselves up. Carlo Ancelotti himself picked himself up and actually made some basic adjustments that you would expect for a manager of his stature to probably make earlier in the season. But well, like he made it. He made them anyway when it mattered, and we are now winning the league. On that note, we are going to transition this conversation into the Manchester City game. Tactically, I think we have seen this. We have seen like so many very tactically interesting games this season versus Real Madrid. We've seen Villarreal absolutely dominating us twice. We have seen PSG dominating us for 2/3 of a game and then vanish within 17 minutes. We have seen Chelsea put up a huge fight at the Bernabeu, but still going down. Now we have probably the pinnacle of tactics in front of us. All of these coaches, if we talk about Unai Emery, he's a revered manager in Spain now. Tuchel is literally a disciple of Pep Guardiola. He even goes to say this publicly as well. And Guardiola, basically, if we are talking about positional play, we are talking about juego de posición. He is the flag bearer of that brand of football in the world. There is absolutely no doubt. There are probably many other coaches, Ten Hag, Xavi. They're trying, or like they implement a version of it, but nobody does it as well as Pep. I'm going to start this conversation with Eric. Eric, I'm starting this with you for obvious reasons because Eric's also a Liverpool fan, so you probably have kept a closer eye on Manchester City than both me and Charlie combined. So from that sense, Manchester City like just lost, like pretty much got bullied by Liverpool in the FA Cup. That it was the FA Cup semi-final, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and although like they played, I would say kind of a second string side, but the irony is they're going to play the similar team against Real Madrid. They have to play that kind of a team because of injuries and everything. So uh, if I were to ask you, what did Jurgen Klopp do that probably Carlo Ancelotti can take some inspiration from or some notes from? Because we in the recent past we haven't seen Manchester City getting beaten up like this in any game, regardless of what kind of 11 they played. So was it just like a regular Klopp versus Guardiola battle that Klopp got his hand over, or it was something specific that Klopp did in that game?
First of all, in the last few weeks, Liverpool played two games against Manchester City, and I watched one of the games in the church because I wanted to have Jesus on my side, and that game did not. That game was not the FA Cup semi-final. Needless to say, it was the other
As
game.
Kevin Hart says, Jesus take the wheel. You did too, but Jesus didn't take the wheel.
It was complicated. We have complicated relationship, but in any case, so the name of the game is that there is a lot of tactical adaptability Pep Guardiola has been doing over the years in Premier League. Usually in the Premier League there are two three different tactical mindset that we see that happens. One, you have the Pep Guardiola and the faux Pep Guardiola. Faux is French for fake Pep Guardiola versions of like Pep Guardiola copycat, so to speak, who try to use this type of games. They succeed, they fail, they have their own uh, ideology. For example, Crystal Palace, for example, their group,
Arsenal.
I think Arsenal. Oh yes, of course. How can we forget Arsenal? And also there is a Chelsea, there is a Brighton and Hove Albion. Great teams all together. So you have this type of play, and when City plays against them, City essentially uses their tactical adaptability to uh, tackle possession-based football with possession-based football. So on the flip side, you have the completely different version of the Liverpool way of playing, where you have more of a counter-pressing type of football. You have a more fresh-looking and speed and good amount of high-quality passes, long passes. Essentially, Guardiola has a very famous line that he prefers short passes because if the pass is misplaced, the player has to cover less distance
Less
in
ground.
order to recover that pass. Like it's quite interesting. So the reason why I brought up the first City Liverpool game, that because in that game City played like Liverpool and Liverpool played like City. So essentially, City used a lot of their ideas, and they put those players into the idea of long passing. But on the FA Cup semi-final, that did not happen. In the FA Cup semi-final, City tried to play like Manchester City. How would they play on a typical way? And Liverpool kind of punished them in the first 45 minutes. However, in the second 45 minutes, the first half was a complete demolition, needless to say. The second half is the issue that we actually need to focus here. The second half, when Riyad Mahrez got introduced into the game, the dynamic got changed. So in order to defeat City, you have to ensure that Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, and Mahrez cannot cannot be in a comfortable zone, so to speak. The minute you have one of them in comfortable zone, they will find the other player to link up, create a mesh way of attacking football. So Riyad Mahrez here is quite important role. He has actually a very important role because he plays on the wing, and Bernardo Silva is a player who has kind of transitioned himself from a winger to a
To a
central
midfielder.
attacking midfielder role. So these three players, they are City's essentially main focal point of attack, because as you said, that City does not have a lot of their players that they would like to have,
Mm.
like Kyle Walker. I think Cancelo
Joao
is
Cancelo,
also
yeah.
out due to red cards. So due to a bunch of yellow cards, I think. So essentially, there's gonna be less attacking fullbacks, obviously, and there's gonna be an absence of that all inspiring mode of Kyle Walker when he's
Mm.
on the attack, he's on the defense, he's on the midfield, he's everywhere.
Mm.
But the midfield trio that I mentioned, they are still there. So City also lacks another decisiveness in front of goal. They have a lot of talented players, but they don't have the player to make the final cut, to make that final
Mm.
shot, to make that goal happen. Although I think our third
Gabriel
commenter
Jesus
Tucson
scored.
was saying exactly, he was saying that like the person who we don't know, either he plays in the wing or he plays in the striker. In the Brazil team, he plays as a striker. He has scored 4 goals. So essentially, Premier League is like English football is weird. You see Southampton defeating Chelsea, Chelsea scoring 6 goals. Sorry, Southampton losing by 6 goals to Chelsea and then winning against Arsenal. Then Arsenal defeating Chelsea. So it's very complicated sometimes. But getting back to essentially Manchester City, there has to be that approach that we have to stop that midfield from functioning and
Mm.
creating the meaningful balls into the midfield. That and some well placed misses and or like a good defending against Raheem Sterling is essentially how we are gonna ensure that the City attack is blunted. And once we have the City attack is blunted, we have like one worry out. The second worry is how do we get the ball to Benzema? How do we get the ball to
Mm.
Vinicius? But this is how the game works. But
Yeah.
final point is that Pep Guardiola, as I actually mentioned in the beginning, that he is a very much adaptive coach. He can actually understand what's happening in the first half. He will move things around in the second half to
Mm.
change things. So this is not gonna be 2 games. I would say this is a game. This will be a game of 4 halves. So this will be actually quite interesting on how uh, post-COVID Carlo has the tactical outset to tackle the 4 versions of Pep Guardiola.
All right, all right. Charlie, coming to you. Let's play a game. Let's overthink like Pep Guardiola. Let's overthink. So, uh, like even jokes apart, Kyle Walker and Joao Cancelo, like missing out means you have to change something. You cannot play with Nathan Ake and I think it's Zinchenko who's going to play as the left back. You
Yes.
can't play with those two as you would play with Cancelo and Kyle Walker. So I'm expecting probably Pep doesn't go the inverted fullback route like completely in this game. He probably has his fullbacks a bit spread out, and especially knowing that the kind of damage Vinicius has caused every time he has found space behind the right back, even against Chelsea when he got past Reece James, he destroyed Christensen, right? So, how do you see this approaching? Do you think that he can go with the inverted fullback route? I don't think so. I think it would be more neutralized. But then again, it's Pep, as Eric said, he's probably gonna try to play 4 games within these 2 games.
I think it is possible that he could go with the inverted fullback route, and it really depends on how Rodri is positioned in the game. Whereas if you get like Nathan Ake playing at right back and he goes and moves into an inverted role or moves up the pitch on the wing, either way that'll create a ton of space for Vinicius in an outlet transition moment. But if we see Rodri kind of take a position similar to what Danilo Pereira does for PSG when Ashraf Hakimi moves forward. We saw it a lot in the game against us, specifically in the first leg, where he kind of drifts out into the almost half space, so we can try and get in the middle of any like quick passes made out there. I could see something like that Pep would try and do, but I don't think the inverted fullback route, specifically on the right side, will be the go-to. I could see Zinchenko playing as an inverted fullback when City are in possession more on the left side, but I think Pep has learned, especially from the Chelsea match and how Christensen was burned by Vinicius. I think Nathan Ake will play very conservatively, kind of staying not going into the final third. He might move up a bit, but try and pin Vinicius in a fair bit. But yeah, I don't see Aki playing as inverted fullback in this game.
Right, right. And also, before I go back to Eric again, another point I wanted to bring up with Charlie is in the game, in the second leg versus Atletico Madrid, especially, we saw that uh, Atletico Madrid created plenty of very high quality transition opportunities. It's just that they couldn't finish it off because of like quality finishers. But that probably gives me a very little ray of hope that we can, the kind of opportunities they created with Wow Felix, we can create those kind of chances with Vinicius too, and we probably have a bit more reliability in the finishing side of things with Benzema. Uh, but what do you think about that? Like, is that something you see Real Madrid doing, taking like a leaf out of Atletico's book? What the game they played at the Wanda, not the game they played in
Yeah. City plays one of the highest lines, at least in the Premier League and in world football. So that does present a couple issues for Benzema, where he likes to drop off and participate in the build-up and things like that. He'll have less space to do that unless his movements are very quick and it's quick combinations. He won't have much time for hold-up play to try and get in the ball and turn and spray it out to the wingers. But it's great for Vinicius because, I mean, he obviously thrives using his pace to get in behind and to get onto, I guess, long passes is going to be a great option in this match because Nathan Ake obviously doesn't have the recovery pace of someone like a Kyle Walker or even a Cancelo in that role. So, yeah, I mean, due to City's high line, I think transition opportunities are going to be Madrid's best route. Something like picking up the ball in after an interception in our defensive third, spray out quick pass to Benzema, who lays it off to Modric and hits a pass, a diagonal in behind to Vinny. I could something like that. Combinations, quick combinations to get our wingers on the ball in behind City's back line, I think are going to be key.
All right, all right, all right, guys. Moment of truth. Well, moment of, I think, the truth. Everyone knows what Real Madrid starting 11 it's going to be, but still, we probably have one or two doubts. That's we're going to discuss. So, one thing is the Spanish press is saying that Casemiro has only about a 30% chance of playing this game. I do not put this past Carlo Ancelotti to start Casemiro if he is 30% fit. And but in all seriousness, he is probably going to start in the bench. Casemiro, our starting midfield would probably be Fede Valverde, Kroos, and Modric. In defense, Alaba played like completed the whole session with the team. I expect him to start. So Alaba, Militao, Carvajal, and Mendy. Mendy is fine. I would be shocked if Alaba is somehow dropped or like Alaba is somehow benched due to his injury and Nacho is starting. I wouldn't feel very comfortable in that position. And the forward line, I think if we are playing three midfielders, Fede Valverde, Kroos, Modric. In the forward line, I think Rodrigo joins Vinicius and Benzema just purely based on form. He's flying high. He's in excellent form. And if we play an extra midfielder, that's my question to both of you. That's where it gets interesting. All of like if Real Madrid play three forwards, we know who's going to play. If Real Madrid's going to play three midfielders, we know who's going to play. But if Real Madrid plays four midfielders, then I think there is room for making this interesting. Who do you pick? Eduardo Camavinga, Dani Ceballos, who Carlo Ancelotti gave a start and said that he was their best player, to my wildest surprise. Like he started and like Ceballos had a best like good game, and Ancelotti actually said that he was our best player in the last game. Or do you give a chance to Isco, who cooked Manchester City for 80 minutes in the Bernabeu in 2019-20 before we like let the tie go in the last 10 minutes? I think all three of them probably have some kind of case for them if we start with a fourth midfielder, starting with Eric, Camavinga, Ceballos, Isco. Who's your fourth midfielder?
First of all, great setup and great context. I actually would like to add one more point here. I think starting four midfielder has to be a mandatory idea to tackle the midfield brilliance of Manchester City. And this is where Liverpool failed to capture the plot. Liverpool did not have that brilliance in the midfield to overtake whatever City had to offer. And this is, of course, the pre-Atletico game. So after the Atletico game, City has lost a few of its teeth. It feels like, so in Dhaka, there is a place called Mohammadpur. It's like you go there and you lose a few things and you come back. It feels like that. So from that perspective, starting four midfielders would ensure that we actually have the attacking hand. We actually can physically dominate City's midfield scheme and then attack. So for that, Isco should be a priority in this way. If you're thinking from that perspective, that we're going to be using Valverde's energy to dominate, and then Isco to create the start of attack
Or hold the
essentially,
ball, perhaps.
or hold the ball perhaps. But I wouldn't rule out Kamavinga or Ceballos as well. And this is quite a political question. I'm actually going to say that if this comes out, I think all three of them will have some amount to play, but it might start with Kamavinga.
Okay, all right, Charlie. What about you? If you were to pick the fourth midfielder, is it like a bang on Kamavinga answer, or there is room for Ceballos or Isco in your?
Okay. First off, before I get into that, I think Casemiro's starting. I think that's
Okay.
nailed on, no matter his fitness. That's
All right, all right, all right.
So, but I do think they will be playing a fourth midfielder with Fede Valverde at right wing. That would be
Okay.
my go-to for
Okay.
starting lineup. If Casemiro's not in, I do think it'll be Camavinga in that holding midfielder spot, which is not his best role by any means. But given we don't have a backup defensive midfielder, that's where it'll be. And then it will be Valverde on the right wing, because I think you just need someone like that in transition moments, as well as, like Eric was talking about earlier, you need guys who are going to be able to cut off the passing lanes to like zones 14 and the upper half spaces to your guys like KDB, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, and even Mahrez when he inverts, when the fullback tends to get forward or whatever. You got to have guys to clog up the midfield and try and cut off the passing lanes, so they just restrict how often they can get on the ball in those super dangerous areas. So I would go with Camavinga because of his defensive capabilities. His ability to step and read passing lanes is quite good, and he's generally a great tackler of the ball. So there's always that, and you need Fede Valverde for his moments in transition, because I think that's going to be the key for Real Madrid to at least create chances tomorrow. Because I know we will not have the majority of possession in this game, so it's going to have to be those 1-2 chances early to kind of set a bit of tempo, that we are dangerous on the counter, make City play a bit more conservative off that, and yeah, I think that's the goal, to kind of make them a bit wary of how we're playing, so they're more conservative going forward, and we'll try and hit them on the counter.
Yep. I think my pick is Kamavinga, because if Casemiro doesn't start, Kamavinga just gets the nod on the basis of continuity as well, because he has been playing with the team for some time. But Eric said something interesting, that probably Kamavinga, Isco, and Ceballos, all three of them get some part to play in this. I think they do, but probably the chances of that happening is more in the second leg, if we like don't get completely destroyed in the first leg and we're like playing until the 120th minute in the second leg. Then all of these moving parts, Isco, Ceballos, Camavinga, all of them come into play. But then again, if Casemiro is fit in the second leg, Casemiro plays in the second leg. And as Charlie said, I also like, having said all of this, having drawing out the possibilities for Camavinga, Ceballos, Isco, everyone, I do not put it past Carlo Ancelotti to play a 30% fit Carlos Casemiro in this game. But
so
yep.
On this note, Mehdi, I actually do have to add over here. So for us to understand how City will play, we actually have to look outside of the Santiago Bernabeu and look towards the lesser part of Madrid, where is Wanda Metropolitano is present. Because the game that happened in Madrid was a very interesting game, and essentially, not saying that Atletico Madrid would play should the gameplay of Atletico Madrid should be imitated in some way, but they actually did show a lot of methodologies that can be used to agitate Pep Guardiola, to agitate the players, and also to actually make 2 or 3 moments of brilliance. At the end of the day, we know, I was reading it in Athletic in the morning, that the players who are right now present in the semifinals, so Benzema is the one who takes the highest amount of shot. So at the end of the day, we need to ensure that Benzema gets to take at least 5 shots. Statistically, one of them should be converted into a goal.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I also like. I think that'll be my last monologue on Manchester City on this pod is on this episode. Is Manchester City is a team almost unreal in the sense of this team doesn't have a single player who is weak on the ball. Obviously, it's a Pep Guardiola team. This club will not sign players who is weak on the ball. If I'm to like give a quick update on a quick piece of stat, I think I don't know if the last time since I saw this stat if it has changed or not, but I will actually take a quick look on FBref and tell you something very like it's not shocking, but it's very interesting that what a Guardiola team can do. So I think among all defenders right now, I'm seeing that Trent Alexander-Arnold has the most number of progressive passes, but I don't think uh, Laporte was too far behind in this race. And he's in this game, he's one of the players. Aymeric Laporte is one of the players who has the most progressive passes. So for a defender to be like the team's most progressive, like best progressive passer, and even in a team like Manchester City where there are so many good passes like Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri. So that I think actually also goes on to show the capabilities of how exactly strong they are from building from the back. That their like primary defender is the player with the most number of progressive passes. So and I think and if I take a look at most passes into the penalty area, there is something that Laporte leads. Yeah, I found that. So Aymeric Laporte is the player with the most passes into the final third in all of Europe. So that's something kind of mind-boggling considering that he's a center back. Some of the other players, the second name on this list is Joao Cancelo. His teammate plays right beside him. The third list on this name is Toni Kroos, and then Sergio Busquets, Rodri, Declan Rice. So all of those are like ball-playing midfielders, but the two defenders of Manchester City, one of them will be missing the game. They put in the most passes into the final third. That is like in its essence, it's kind of scary. Guys, quick thoughts on Antonio Rudiger, and then we'll close it out. It seems like we have closed the signing. Everything seems fine. Fabrizio Romano gave us here we go, and even like club sources have been telling that this signing has been closed. I think this is a massive signing. This allows Real Madrid, first of all, this like we have two like absolute towers in the middle of the defense next season in terms of Militao and Rudiger, and it also gives us the chance of playing Alaba at left back or at central defensive midfield if needed. If Casemiro is not available, if Mendy can play left back, Alaba can play CDM as well, and Alaba himself is a wonderful ball player. Charlie, quick thoughts on Rudiger, and I'll take quick thoughts from Eric as well, and then we'll close this out.
Okay, it's a massive, awesome signing on a free and all that, but I absolutely hate Antonio Rudiger. He is such a pain to play against. He's all up in the antics and all that stuff, which is exactly like our old number 4 who left last year.
Mhm.
So that's what makes me super. He's a player that I absolutely hate watching, hate facing. I am so happy that we have to root for him now because I cannot wait for him getting up in players' faces, screaming, hitting the floor like he does. I cannot wait. It is such a great signing on a free transfer. Sure, his wages are a bit more than you like to be paying your incoming center back, but I mean, him and Militao are going to dominate La Liga for the next couple of years. This frees up Alaba to play in a more versatile role where he can shift in left back. He can even move into defensive midfield now. This just feels like wins all around. I'm super happy with it.
Absolutely. And Eric, I don't think like if we just purely based on form, quality, defensive aggression, all of these things taken into account, probably there are better ball playing defenders than Rudiger. But I would actually put him right below Virgil van Dijk right now if we are to talk about the best like dominating center backs of the world: Virgil van Dijk, Antonio Rudiger. That would be my list. What about, like, do you have any doubts on that?
Yeah, sure. First of all, he is the best player of Chelsea for this season, whatever this shithousery of the season that Chelsea had. So, like that, we got the best player of the club that essentially won a lot of international trophies, including a Champions
And the
League.
reigning Champions League champions,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. And we got him for free. So first of all, this is like a big coup, a big, very big coup. Second of all, now it has fixed this essentially 75% of our running defensive problem that we have. We have still one problem to look at, the right back, but it goes on. At some
Yeah.
point, somebody will come. It will get fixed. We'll see Mendy playing there, Alaba playing there. You don't know what may happen one day. Next
Yeah.
season, there's gonna be a next season that's gonna be interesting to see. But I'm actually super happy for Rudiger to come to Real Madrid because we needed a person like that now to dominate the midfield, to dominate the defense, and to actually like provide a threat. As Charlie had actually pointed out, like you don't want to face Rudiger in the morning. It's just like think about all the think about Iñaki Williams. Essentially, the first person that's gonna come to me and like come to my mind, and that flash will be, as they said in Kung Fu Panda, it will be legendary essentially. So yeah,
Yes.
that's my 2 cents on it.
And I just saw a clip that Rudiger was like, he was throwing chairs at somebody or like doing something with a chair. So I already know that he's going to get along just fine with Militao and Alaba. He also likes to throw chairs around. So on that note, listeners of the Es Una Final podcast and the viewers of Madrid Betar, thank you so much for listening to us. Charlie and Eric, thanks so much for your time late at this hour in our Eastern time zone. We hope to see a very exciting, a very wonderful game of football. I don't have much expectations from Real Madrid. Whatever expectations I had for them, they have fulfilled by like giving me the prospect of getting a guard of honor at the Wanda Metropolitano. So I'm looking forward to that. But thanks so much, everyone, for listening. Everyone, stay well, stay healthy. We will see you again very soon. Take care.